All right, guys, another video. Hopefully these are working for you. But if not, please send us some feedback so we can adjust. All right, so the next part of our checklist here um, is going to be looking at folders, which are these right here, and basically adding materials. Okay. So that if I click this, then I see that I can add a folder, I can add an assignment, an assessment, which is different. Okay, that's like something that's through Schoology. That'll kind of be its own little video. You can add a file, a link, or an external tool. All right, there's an example of it right down here on the Schoology cheat sheet of a link. You can add a discussion, a page, which is my favorite, and that's a whole nother video on its own. I think this is the adding a page and teaching off of a page is extremely customizable. You can embed tons of stuff into it, and I think it's the best for a universal design learning platform. All right, but that again, that's going to be its own kind of thing, or its own video. The media album's really cool. I've never done an ad package. I have to look into that, and you have a couple options down here for resources. For the purposes of this video, so we don't make it 15, 20 minutes long, okay, and you can just find what you need, is we're going to add a folder. We're going to add some assignments to it, some links, and maybe a discussion, okay? So I will show you how to add that now. I hope by now you're kind of seeing that this is pretty intuitive. So right now I'm going to add a folder. All right, this folder, I'm just going to title it on what we're working now. Adding materials. And I can pick whatever color I want. I've done orange, blue, and pink so far, so I'll do yellow. You can give a little blurb. This will cover adding folders, assignments, links, files. I think it was external tools it was called. We're just going to stick with 3. This folder, the dates, you can just kind of do the dates of your unit or whatever you're creating the file for. I usually put a start date. I'm just going to put today's date. I don't mess with the end date unless I have to. This is kind of cool down here. The availability. So Schoology has on everything, basically. You can create it in here, like kind of do your planning and create, and it can be published, which means the kids can see it. You can leave it unpublished until you want to publish it. You can have it automatically publish on a date, all right, or during a date range. I don't mess with the bottom too much. I mean, you can if you want, because at North Shore Academy, we don't always know when we're going to finish stuff. It's not always as predictable. But let's leave this one published so you can see it. All right, so I just click that, and now I got my new folder. All right, it's down here. I think this is good because you can see that you don't want to put a ton of stuff in your little description. I've seen it before where people put too much and then it ends up being half of a screen page of info, and it's just too much. All right, so and you know what? I'm going to take this moment to speak to the structure of what your page looks like. So for me, and getting feedback from students over the 2 years that I did this, their materials page was most clear to them and best set up when there were folders, which were units, exclusively or mostly on that front page. Right? Think about this. Think if you're a student and you come in and there's just a ton of assignments and links, and your main Schoology page for that course looks something like your Google Drive. Right? It ends up being a mess. So I highly recommend that your first your materials page is folders with unit names. Okay, so if this was world history, it would be democracy and governance. whatever, which ones would come next. Slavery and Jim Crow. I'm just thinking of my class. The Holocaust and human rights. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind when you're setting this stuff up. Folders of units, I have found, especially for our population, is the way to go. Okay, so let's stop talking about that. Adding materials, that's our new folder. There's nothing in here yet. Okay, so I'm going to click it. I gotta open it in order to put stuff in. This is when we're actually going to add the materials. Okay, you can see you got add materials, you got options, and a back bar or button. All right, let's just add something. Okay, so I'm going to add your assignment for this basically. So I add the assignment. All right, you got the assignment name, the description. There's this feature of Kami. I have never used that, but I would assume that it's pretty simple. The due dates, categories. We're just going to kind of start. So, adding your materials assignment. I don't really feel the need to put a big description in here other than maybe a little checklist. Watch the video. Of course, this is optional as it is everywhere else. 2, create sample assignments in your toolbox. And then 3, post comment to show completion. Okay, so it's a little checklist. This is nice. I mean, I think this part is nice because we can just give them a little, students a little checklist. I want to draw your attention to down here, these little faded out things. But when I hover over them, right, I can see what I want to attach to this. All right. So the file, you guys might use this one a lot. This is like you can attach, right, any file, but, a PDF, a Google Doc, or whatever. Okay, you kind of get it. The next one is a link. All right, say you want them to go to a web page. You want them to watch a video on YouTube or any other platform. All right, that's where you'll include your link. I am going to include a link. I haven't created the video yet because we're kind of making it now. But when I get done with this little screencast, I'm going to link it to this right through that button. You can include a resource. You can talk over this thing, okay, and record your voice. So if you wanted to explain your directions or explain the assignment verbally, I'm thinking like when we're not there, when we're out, whatever, you can do that, okay? And then this one is external tool. Sorry if there's some background noise. It's a little loud in the house right now. The due date, I mean, for us, it doesn't really matter. It's just for this training purposes. I'm just going to put tomorrow. Points, go in and manipulate it as you will. Category, all right? So you can see that I have all my categories here. I can even create a new one if I really want. It's an assignment. Here's where you can set something as a midterm or final. I don't recommend you ever mess with that until maybe you meet with, middle school meets on its own or the high school and decides for itself. The period, semester 2, don't mess with this factor piece. Okay, let's leave this as numeric for right now. All right, so this is an interesting thing right here. I'm recording. Sorry, I had to step away for a second to close the door. So I can actually make this assignment in one course and copy it to other courses. All right, we can do that in Google Classroom too, so that you should be familiar. The comments are enabled. You might want to turn those off when it's for the students. You can look at grading statistics. This is just like if I want to publish it or unpublish it. So with one click, I can just say, no, I don't want you to see this yet. Or, yep, I'm making this and I'm ready for you to see it. The submissions are enabled, which means they submit. If you set it up where it's already graded, it shoots right into your grade book. But that allows kids to turn it in. We don't want to lock it. And this is nice because you can individually assign it. Let's say, in my math class right now, I got three sections in one period. I maybe only want, the Algebra Foundations class to have this. So that's where I would go and do that. I'm going to go click this just to see what it does with you guys. Oh, there it is. This is where I can assign it to certain people. All right, I'm not going to do that though. Okay, so I have all my information in there. Now I'm going to create it. Okay, so I've created this assignment within the adding materials folder. Okay, now there's a couple of things I can do. All right, let's say I kind of haphazardly put this together knowing that I'm going to come back later and add stuff, which I'm going to do because I'm making this video now. You can click this little sprocket thing right here. You can edit it, which I do all the time. You can unpublish it. You can move it, okay, to a different part of Schoology. You can copy it to a course, right? This is all after this assignment's created. It's basically the same little options you got, but after you've kind of hit the, okay, this is created button. You can delete it if you just don't want it anymore, or you can save to resources. I highly recommend, we're going to dip into resources later in a deeper way, but your resources are your filing cabinet. So at your desk, your manila folder with Unit 1, World History, Democracy and Governance, you always want that in there. So then you can, when you teach this class again, it'll be in your resources, because what happens is your classes get archived and they start over every semester. Okay, but if you save things to your resources, your filing cabinet, and keep it somewhat organized, it works out well. Now, what I found out better is that if I create things in resources, create my classes there, and then send them to my new courses, it's much more efficient and organized. But we'll get into that deep dive in the resources stuff. All right, so those are just your options. Let's say I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of haphazardly put this together when I had good ideas, but I wasn't able to finish because my radio started blowing up and I had to leave the room real fast. All right, so I saved it and I knew I was going to come back later. I just click edit. All right, and it takes me right back to this, and I can change and manipulate anything I want. Okay, this is one part that we didn't cover, which is the align. So if you're grading along learning objectives, or if we ever do that, or you want to attach them here, you can just click that, and they have all the ones that we would use. So I can just click Common Core, English Language Arts, right? If I'm teaching 9th grade English, reading, we're doing informational text, and I'm looking at key ideas and details, that it just has them all right there. It's kind of nice to see, because if we're smart about it in our assessments, sometimes kids have stuff on their IEPs, that get attached to this stuff. So if you can make assessments and have them measure that, you might be getting a 2-for-1 on your IEP stuff, updates and goal updates. Let's just pick this one randomly. Okay, yeah, that's what we're going to work on in here. And we're going to add the learning objective. You can see it's right there. It'll be visible in your assignment. All right, so I saved the changes. And that's it. That's how you create a folder and create a assignment. Let's say that I want to add a file. This will be much shorter. Okay. Let's say I want to create a file or add a file to this within this folder. I just go to attach files. I don't know. I'm just going to put something random in here. This is just my desktop, which you can see is way too cluttered. Let's just do a simple machines quiz. I open that up. It uploads. Beautiful. Let's say, oh, yeah, this is really great. I want to align this with something. I do that for next generation science, grades, I don't know, high school physical science. I'm just going to do something kind of random. And I've done that. And you have some options down here, what you want to do. You can send it to another course, yada, yada. Okay. And then I would just add. All right. Now I have my simple machines quiz in this folder. All right. Again, I do not suggest that you create stuff in your courses. I suggest you create it in resources and send it to the course. All right. But if you create it in here, you can always say, oh yeah, I got to save that. I'm going to save it to resources. You just click that. Um, this collection right here is just, if I do home, that just goes to my general resources page. But I should have folders in there for each of my units or classes or whatever. And one of the classes is Schoology, the beginning, I guess. All right, so we'll just do it to that. And in my folder, okay, and I saved a copy to that. Okay, so it's always in my resources. So I guess you'll just find out what works for you on that. All right, moving a little quicker. The link is super easy. All right, you just put whatever link in there. I don't know if I have one. Okay, so I typed a link in there. I have no idea what it is. Sample. All right, and it should just pop up in here. If that was actually a link. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so there's my sample link. All right. And let's say that I'm going to do, I don't mess with external tool much. I don't have much experience with that. If I add a discussion, all right, you might want to do this. You just click this. I mean, all this stuff is pretty intuitive. The title, I don't know, sample, all right, the description, sample, starts today. That's the due date, whatever. Let's say it's a discussion I want to grade, right? I'm telling kids, hey, in order to get a grade for this, you need a post. Right? What's nice is once I click enable grading, it's going to go right to my grade book, which is really cool. It's an assignment, or it could just be participation. All right, let's say this is brain science or social development in the high school, and we just want kids to chime in. Right? There's really no wrong or right answer. It's probably participation. All right, and let's create it. Okay. So if I actually open the discussion, right? It's a sample. That's the title. In here, where I wrote sample, it would be a question, and then they would then comment, okay? And it would go into my gradebook. I'm just kind of curious to see if I click gradebook, is it in there? Oh, look, it's in there. These assignments are in there. Great. And no one's joined the class yet, so that's why no one's in there. All right, so if I go back to materials, and I do our sample adding materials folder. Okay, so there I've shown you how to make the basic simple ones. Like I said before, I'm gonna do a different video on adding a page in the media album. They're actually really cool. Okay, but they deserve more time, and I don't want to make this extremely long. It's already long. So that's all I got. Make sure that you please post a comment to show completion, and that's all there is.